702.
Live
On the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
It is 6 minutes past 9. Good morning. Welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show with me, Kgomotso Modise. I'm in for Clem today. It is the 15th of December, 2025. And it's lovely to be in your company. Happy Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a good one too. It was busy, very rainy in Johannesburg, but it was a good one nonetheless. And I hope yours was just as good. I hope it was filled with as much love and joy as mine was. I had kids over this weekend, so it was very busy in my home, but it was also really, really good. All right, coming in the next hour. Well, I'm with you for the next 3 hours from 9 to 12 right here on the Clement Manyathela Show. And in the next hour, it is the open line where you and I get to talk about whatever is on your mind. What do you want to share? What stood out for you over the last few days? It has been a busy weekend. The news cycle does seem to be slowing down a bit, but there are those things that are happening, pockets of events that are worth noting that are making up our show this morning. So I want to hear from you on the open line. That's in the first hour.
702.
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
So some of the things that have been happening right over the weekend are that notice that came from the higher education department, Buti Manamela, issuing the notice of intent. That is the minister for those institutions. They are colleges, Damelin, City Varsity, and Ikesa. And it is around their financial statements. Now, we've had something similar to this over the last few weeks, or actually over the last few years, around the previous higher education minister, that was Blade Nzimande. And there's been regularly threats to shut down these particular universities, or I should call them colleges, higher education institutions. But, it happens so frequently and so often, and we're in this mess once again. There are people, I am certain, that have registered to be with the Damelin, that have registered to be with the City Varsity, that have registered to be with an Ikesa. And while now this notice has come, the intention to cancel the registration, they run the risk of not having a school, a college. Their money might be gone even at this time. Now that this notice has come from the department. And I think that, the department is trying to say that it's not all lost. It's not all doom and gloom. Also, the decision to deregister them has not happened just yet. But I do want to hear from you about your experience, particularly if you are registered with a Damelin, a City Varsity, and an Ikesa, but also if you are registered with another organization that was deregistered. What has your experience been there? For now, let's take a listen to what the minister had to say in this conversation with Bongani Bingwa earlier this morning.
Was there a way to avoid this last step? Because it feels as if the students are the ones who are going to pay the ultimate price for what clearly is not a fault of theirs.
Yeah, well, definitely, yes. There are processes that we consider. This one in particular started as early as 2023, if you'd recall. Then Minister Nzimande affirmed the deregistration. But subsequent to that, there were engagements between the college itself and the ministry and or department, and for some reason, the colleges were then re-registered with certain set conditions, which they have consistently failed to meet, and so that's why we are doing this. It means that any further operation by these colleges will compromise, any other student who registers with this institution. And so that's why, in the interest of the students, in the interest of their, especially financial resources and future. That's why we, are making this action. And so what usually happens, Bongani, this is not the first time that we've had a private higher education institutions not complying, and therefore, we put in place measures for a teach-out program. We also insist that the institutions themselves, put in place measures of transition for students who are currently studying with those institutions in order to ensure that their future is not jeopardized. And so I'll really encourage, students to now look at alternative institutions, but also to await communication from their institutions and not to pay any further money, until we have finalized this process of cancellation.
Yep, that was the conversation that the Minister, Buti Manamela, had with Bongani Bingwa a little earlier on. And I mean, yes, it's great for the people that have not necessarily registered, the people that were looking to potentially register with a Damelin or a City Varsity. But really, if you have registered, I can only imagine how worried you may be about this and how, you are going to be trying to navigate this. Of course, this is something that we have seen before, but it's not good enough that there's these threats that happen constantly. And I do think that, particularly the department should be holding these institutions accountable. It cannot be that every other year there are issues with your financial statements, and every other year there are issues with your annual reports, and every other year people that are registered with you that are studying a 2, 3, maybe even 4-year qualification, if they do offer such, are on their toes and they are fearful. But I do want to hear from a parent or even a person that is studying with a Damelin, someone who is studying with a Damelin, a City Varsity, and Ikesa is already registered with them. How are you going to be navigating this? What is your reaction to these news? And over the last few years, if you've been with Damelin for a while, or if you've been with City Varsity for a while, how has it been like? Because this is not the first time and it's not new. The number to dial on for phone calls is 011-883-0702. However, if you'd like to send us a WhatsApp, it is 072-702-1702.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
It's 9:20 right here on 702. This is the Clement Manyathela Show. I'm Kgomotso Modise in for Clement this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am seeing some of your WhatsApps on the WhatsApp line. Someone here is saying, hi Kgomotso, what will happen to our qualifications that we got a few years back from Damelin? Are they still valid? So my understanding is that those are still valid, but once they are deregistered, once Damelin is deregistered, then anyone who continues to study with them going forward then might have some issues with their qualifications. And I do think that that's cause for concern, particularly for the people that are currently midway in their qualifications, people that are still studying with a Damelin, people that are still studying with a City Varsity. And I think that government now has that, the weight on their shoulders and that burden to see what happens now going forward. Someone else here saying, good morning, very good show. I want to mention that Damelin has been putting me on blacklist because I didn't pay them monthly. And also I've never received a single booklet from them ever since I registered with them, but expect me to pay monthly. That is Sean. Yeah. Sorry about that, Sean. That does seem, very concerning, but also I can imagine it's very frustrating if you are registered with them. I think it's worth having a conversation with a Damelin, having a conversation with a City Varsity around the affairs at the institution. If you want to run an institution of higher learning, you want to run a college, and you're saying people must trust you with their futures, because that's essentially what it is. It's me trusting you with my future. It's me saying, listen, I'm going to come here because I believe that you can help me in the next step in my life, in, going on in my life and making a better person of myself and increasing the chances of me succeeding in my life. Then you ought to have your affairs in order. You must have your house in order. And if a Damelin and a City Varsity does not have their house in order, then the higher education minister needs to stay on their necks. The department needs to stay on their necks to ensure that they are held accountable. I just think it's unacceptable that every year we've got an issue with your annual statements. It's unacceptable. And I do think that there must be a conversation with them. But also, I'm not sure enough is being done, from a regulatory standpoint, and not just for a Damelin, but for many other, colleges, institutions of higher learning, there's that conversation every year that we have. So many people are looking for institutions to register in next year, now that we're at the end of the year, and many fall into the trap of registering with an institution that is just not kosher. Let's take a call from Lindy. You're in Vosloorus, and you had a child, or you've got a child who is studying with Damelin. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm good, Sissy. Please go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. Okay, yes, I have a child previously who finished last year. I just want to share, it was very bad as a parent, to see your child going through all this. You don't even know if he's going to finish the school or what, and he was doing like his last year when they deregister the varsity, and then after I think some time it was open again. So I don't know. I think the department, they should do something. It was very bad. Yes.
And how long has your child been with Damelin?
He started in 2022 because he was doing like 3 years.
And because since 2022, we've seen this before. There's been a regularly this threat that comes from the department that they're going to deregister him or deregister the department, the organization. Just tell me, Lindy, what happens during that time? Is there communication from the institution that they may be deregistered, or is it just life as normal?
To be honest, I was not aware. We were not aware. Like, I don't know other parents, but we were not aware, because if we were aware, like, so from 2022, I should have not gone to register my child, to that school, So we were not aware, and there was no communicating, even like academic, everything from 2022, it was like normal, 2022, 2023, and they were like not even communicating with the parent and all that until last year. Everything was also normal, but until it was last year, March, and then I was how we're in this situation, but Damelin never even communicates with anyone. Like you like on your own. They used to communicate sometimes, sending that email. Okay, the school is still carrying on, but they close some of the campus, and then some they need to move from. Especially my child was in Bosberg, and need to move from Bosberg to Bram. So. Like last year, I think the students, they just push themselves to study, because even sometimes they will tell us, there's no lecture or nothing, But, it was like very difficult. It was very difficult. And the bad thing, what I've noticed, like for me, I used to pay the school fees by myself without any credit. I didn't open the credit with them, because I said, I'm going to pay. I don't want to have an account, know. But the moment last year when they announced the register, automatically everyone that they were owing the school, they were put on their credit something, it's when I check for my credit score, and then all along I didn't pick up Damelin, and now I was picking Damelin. So how?
So it's affected your credit score?
Yes, okay. Luckily for me it didn't, because I was like, I've tried my best to pay, and then those like who were not able, just affected them very, very bad.
Yeah. Sure, Lindy. So sorry about that. Sorry that you've had to go through this. And this is the reality for many parents. Number one, many of these institutions will not inform the parents that they run the risk of being deregistered, because then that just means that it will be a deterrent, right? People will not want to register. More people will not want to come and study with them. And as they should, right? Like, this is, if you run the risk of being deregistered, I'd imagine you should relax, get your house in order, get your affairs in order, and then only then continue with offering the service that you say you're offering. But if you're not being, if you're not going to inform at least the parents, at least the people that are already registered with you, at least the people that have already entrusted you with this, then I do think that this is a big issue. And this is where I think that there should be an intervention from government. There should be someone who intervenes and says, listen, we're going to hold you accountable, but also we're going to make noise about this. So we're going to speak out about this so no one else falls into registering with your organization or registering with this institution of higher learning, without knowing. Someone else here says there's third year students from BUT studying travel and tourism doing internship. They haven't received their NSFAS allowance for the past 5 months, but it reflects on their statements. No one is accountable. Oh, that's unfortunate. I do think that that's a concern that should go to NSFAS. And that's another one that's an ongoing one that happens quite a bit. Another person here saying, if you are in matric, you should be alert of these things, which are always over the media. It's high time we rid ourselves of this ignorance and then victimhood. All these people are preying on us. I do agree. I agree that if you are in matric, you should have your eyes and ears everywhere. But unfortunately, there will be those people that fall through the cracks.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Hi, Kgomotso and the team. I was not convinced by the Minister of Higher Education because it seems he's missing the point that some of these private institutions were designed to offer niche education, not mass education, which means you cannot allocate their students elsewhere. David.
Yeah. And that's exactly, I think that's what Bongani was, the point that he was trying to drive across, to say, already you've gone to a Damelin, already you've gone to a city varsity because they offer a specific qualification. So you can't just move me from Damelin and hope that, another organizer or another institution will offer the same qualification. It doesn't work that way. But I suppose we have to wait and see how the department deals with this.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
Welcome back. This is the Clement Manyathela Show with me, Kgomotso Modise. It is 9:35 right here on 702. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another story that's been rather interesting over the last few days. We've heard from the Madlanga Commission. We are expecting that interim report will be submitted to the president on Wednesday this week, but it's not for your or my eyes. So we're not going to have an opportunity to see that report at all. It's not going to be made public at this stage. What we're hearing is that the commission will then hand it over to the president, and at the very end then, once all the reports have been submitted and consolidated, then they will be made public, or the final report will be made public. And I was trying to think back to what happened with the Zondo Commission and whether this was the case. And I think that with the Zondo Commission, each part that was released, because there wasn't an interim report then, if I remember quite well, but there were parts that were released and each part was made public. And I'm wondering why it's a little different this time with this Madlanga report. I suppose maybe there are safety concerns, and whether things may change because this is an interim report. I've also been thinking what may be in this interim report, because we've dealt with evidence around the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department quite a bit, and we've dealt extensively with the arrest of Katiso KT Molefe, the alleged crime kingpin. So those are the major themes, some of the major themes at least, that have been explored during the commission. And I suppose this interim report will detail that and more. But yes, I don't know if you're wondering why it's not being made public. I do know that this is I suppose it's a sensitive case, right? We're dealing with sensitive material, and we've been seeing deaths happening, the killing of witness D. Yes, it hasn't been linked to the Madlanga Commission properly or officially, but we do know that there are concerns and there are fears that this may have been linked to his testimony at the Madlanga Commission. So maybe that's why the decision to withhold the interim report has come up now. But I don't know, are you a little disappointed? I was looking forward to some December reading on that. trying to make sense of it and almost prepare myself for the next step. I've also been seeing some of you saying that you've got a bit of you've got withdrawal. Yes, I think that's the term. People saying that they have a bit of withdrawal from Madlanga. They miss it. They want to continue watching. It had become a part of their routine. I used to say that with the Senzo Meyiwa trial, people would sit in their offices and I've been in government offices. I've been to Home Affairs where I'll see someone sitting there watching that Senzo Meyiwa trial while they are helping you in the department. And I've heard some people saying they've seen it too in offices, people watching the Meyiwa trial. Oh, I think now that's the Madlanga Commission. People will work while they're watching the Madlanga Commission. And now they've got nothing to watch. Maybe let me put you on. Maybe you should be watching that inquiry into Andrew Chalke, the South Gauteng Director of Public Prosecutions. Maybe that's something worth watching now that there is no Madlanga Commission and there is no ad hoc committee. But yes, I am a little disappointed that we're not going to have that interim report for December reading, and I'm looking forward to the Commission returning soon. I do think that once it comes back, that momentum may have slowed down a bit and we need to get back into it. But I am taking your calls on 011-883-0702. What do you think of the report being withheld, or the interim report being withheld for now? And if you'd rather send us a WhatsApp, we are taking your WhatsApps on 072-702-1702.
Hi guys, hope you had a lovely weekend. Flores here from the beautiful Western Cape. I think for this Madlanga Commission first report not to be shared with public, I think it's more of a safety concern, because you see what's really happening here. But we would like to be keeping the loop as a nation who has a vested interest in all of this. So mine is just that it's a safety precaution. Have a good job, Baba.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me as well. I did think that it's a safety precaution, particularly because of what we've been seeing over the last few weeks, and the Commission itself saying that they're going to be upping their security, tightening their security with the passing of Witness D. So I can see why there'd be a decision to withhold it. But also, it is being termed an interim report. So unlike the Zondo Commission reports, which were part 1 report, and I suppose that gave the impression that it's a final report. So there was part 1, part 2, part 3 of the reports. With this is an interim report. Interim says to me that things may be changed in the report. There may be edits, there may be additions, and I suppose, nothing is final yet at this stage. But I do have the sentiment, and I want to hear from you if you feel the same way. I do have the sentiment that the Commission is moving. There is a sense that it's moving and almost trying very hard to stick to its timelines. There is no unnecessary waste of time. We are already in part 2 of the Commission, and part 2 is when we're hearing testimony from all the people that have been implicated in testimony by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi and others. So already it seems as though we are moving at a decent pace. So I think we can wait for a bit. We will be hearing a bit. We'll be hearing from the president soon. I don't think that we've got anything to be worried about for now, but I can see why the safety concerns might be worth noting. All right, something else that's also drawn my attention over the last day or so. Actually, it's in the Citizen today. So there's a conversation in the Citizen, or an article around a conversation that's been had quite a bit around me in the offices as well. It says Gen Z's stress toolkit. And it's an article that details how Gen Zs, or what people colloquially call a 2000, I think, how they deal with work stress. And I found it so interesting to see the pictures that have been used in this article. One of the pictures is an adult male with a pacifier in his mouth. And apparently that's one of the ways that people are resorting to, calming down. They're using calming pacifiers and blankets in the workplace. Something else that I saw that's interesting, that I know many people do, is chilling out in the loo. So going to sit in the toilet because you're having a difficult time at work, you're struggling, and you just need a break. Some people have digital stress relief, which is basically putting your phone aside Or no, that's actually the detox, the digital detox. The digital stress relief is actually using your phone. So using your devices in order to have a bit of a time out. And then, of course, there's a digital detox where people then, remove their phones away from them in order to calm themselves down. But I'm interested in how you are approaching stress in the workplace. And have you seen any of the people around you? I don't think that these are limited to just the Gen Zs, hey? I don't think that these are just Gen Z mechanisms where people go and sit in the bathroom. I know from, friends in other places where they'll say that their colleagues go sit in the bathroom. In fact, I can think of someone who says they sit in the bathroom, when they are a little overwhelmed with work, when they are struggling, when they're having a tough time, especially at this time of the year where you might be feeling like, why am I at work when everyone else is at home having a good time? And then you resort to some of these Gen Z stress toolkits, right? I suppose that's something to think about. I've been thinking, how do I de-stress? And I've realized I think what I do is I walk around the building. I think walking around the building is a big one for me. I'll walk around the building, maybe grab some coffee and just, breathe a bit, try to take a break from the desk, try to take a break from my laptop, and I'll go back to it once I've gathered up the strength and the courage, which is actually, I think, very similar to sitting in the bathroom the whole time. Although I don't think I would sit in the toilet to try and de-stress. But yeah, I want to hear from you. How are you de-stressing? And how have you seen some of your colleagues de-stressing when they're at work? 011-883-0702 is where you can give us a call. I'm looking at your WhatsApp. Someone here is saying, hi, Zo. Apart from security concerns, I think there are imperatives of justice and fairness to implicated individuals. Remember that some of them have not had a turn or opportunity to put their version before the commission, so it wouldn't be fair for the interim reports to be publicly released at this stage. Thank you so much for that, Tammy. That makes a lot of sense, because we are still in part 2 of the process. And part 2, as I said, is where all the implicated individuals are responding to the allegations around them. And we have not completed part 2. So you're right. There might be some implicated individuals who are still going to have to respond, who are still going to have to make their side known. But I wonder, maybe then they should have just held off a bit on this interim report. I don't know. But it does make sense. You don't want to make findings and then you make them public against people who may still have more to say and have more to add. Thank you so much for that WhatsApp from Tammy. Chad in Johannesburg says, the cold tiles of the bathroom make the most relaxing spot in the summer. Okay, so you're one of those that sit in the bathroom. You sit in the bathroom, and where's this? Is this in the cubicle? Because if you're sitting in the cubicle, I think, Chad, there's some people that actually want to use the cubicle in the office, and you're there having a time out there. And if you're sitting in the open space, I think you get some looks. I'm sure you'd get some side eyes, Chad, from some people thinking, what are you doing in the bathroom at this time of the day? You should be at your desk working. But yeah, that's in response to how you are approaching timeouts in the workplace and how you are approaching cooling off in the workplace, especially when you are experiencing some stress. Some environments can be very, very high stress, and I suppose you need to find ways to de-stress, right? And find ways to kind of find a way to recenter before you approach your work. I suppose what I've also found to be helpful is having a bit of coffee. So walk into the coffee machine, have a coffee, and hope that there's someone there to have a chat with, have a conversation with. That helps me de-stress quite a bit. Kind of, forget a bit, about the stresses of what I'm doing before I get right back into it. But I think that it's important to find a way to cope in the office. I'm seeing in the Citizen article, there's even people sitting in that yoga position. I wonder where you would do that. What I really like about what I've seen in workplaces now is that there's those wellness places around buildings. A lot of the modern buildings have places where you would, almost like a doctor's office. I know the Prime Media building now has something similar to a doctor's office. And I'd imagine that's one of the places where you would want to go and relax and kind of recenter. And maybe you can sit in the yoga position. But the one that really caught me off guard was the pacifier. I mean, having a pacifier, or what people would call itami, in the workplace, and that helps you de-stress. That's very interesting for me. It says pacifiers, blankets, and plushies. The trend started in China. and has spread across the Gen Z world. So according to this article, it's particularly the Gen Zs that are using pacifiers. It's the Gen Zs that are using their blankets, and they're using these as tools in the workplace. Another view that I've heard from people that work with Gen Zs, we here actually have a lot of Gen Zs that we're working with, but I haven't experienced what some people have spoken about quite a bit. The fact that Gen Zs will often prioritize their mental health more than the older generation. So the older generation, older people will still come to work even though they're not okay, whether it's physically unwell, whether it's people that are emotionally unwell, you're going through a breakup, or, you're just not yourself, you're not feeling good, they'd still come to work, right? And it's from that generation of you must go to work, you'll hear some parents saying. But the Gen Zs apparently, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but the Gen Zs apparently will say, no, I'm not coming. I'm not feeling good. I'm emotionally unwell, and I should be allowed to just stay at home. And they truly won't come because they are unwell. And I know there's a view that says that's good because they're taking care of their emotional wellness. But I suppose the other view is, where do we draw the line? Because every time we were all emotional and not having a good day and we didn't come to work, would we be very productive? I don't know. Natasha, I see your WhatsApp. You say, I learned skills in stress management, and of that is known, I've learned I have a lot of persistence, and I communicate when I need a break. Mostly known habits is like when I drink my coffee at break, when it's time out. I actually love to play with the 3-year-olds in the sand at the preschool. Often the kids will say to other people, teacher is not going to help you now. She wants to, then I breathe slowly, bring my heart rate to slow down. I do yoga now for 13 years. Natasha, thank you so much for that WhatsApp. Yeah. It's important to have those skills management techniques. And actually being in the sand is a good one. So the fact that you work near kids or with kids and you can be in the sand with them is absolutely lovely. But also being able to recognize when you do need a timeout is important. Because sometimes you can sit there stressed and you're struggling and you just sit there and you continue to push, and that's not okay. So being able to recognize, being able to see that I do need time. Also, the fact that we have break at work, so the fact that we've got lunch, a lunch hour designated or allocated, and the fact that we've got, some people will even have tea time. I know in some industries there'll be tea time where you must take tea and then go back to work. In fact, in the courts, that's a good example, where they will have tea time. Each courtroom will have between 11:15 and 11:30. You'll see them standing up going for tea. And I know people will say, oh, why are they taking so many breaks? But I suppose you're dealing with a lot. And some of the evidence that could be heard in court can be very, very stressful and cause a strain on you. So you do need that tea break. And so I think the tea break is more for the judges and the magistrates than it is for us. But that happens quite a bit. And then they'll also go and have some lunch. But what are some of the ways that you deal with your stress at work? 011-883-0702 is the number to dial.
Let's walk the talk.
702.
All right, we are taking your calls and we are taking your WhatsApps. I suppose also when it comes to that Madlanga Commission conversation, I think it's a good thing that we're at a place right now at the Madlanga Commission where things do seem like they are moving. They are, we are on track. But also I'm now looking forward to part 3 of the commission because we're in part 2, and part 2 is when there's the response, right, from all those who are implicated. These include the likes of a Julius Mkhwanazi, who we've seen. That's the suspended deputy chief of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. And then we've seen the former municipal manager, Dr. Imogen Mashazi. And there'll be more, right? Also, so Vusmuzi Kat Makala, also all in part 2, testifying there. But soon we're going to be moving to part 3. And part 3 is when there's going to be a lot more reaction or the response from Mkhwanazi. That's General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I always find when it comes to the Madlanga Commission, you must be careful. You must say full name and surnames because we've got 2 Mkhwanazis, right? So General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is going to have to come back in part 3 and answer to what a Julius Mkhwanazi has already said. They'll have to answer to what an Imogen Mashazi has already said. They'll have to reply and, almost, clarify the questions that have been asked. And while I've been listening to the Madlanga Commission, I've been wondering, is there a lot for Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi to reply to, really? is there a lot to clarify? And that really just depends on your view of what has been said by those who are implicated. You look at a testimony by a Julius Mkhwanazi, right, who's basically come out to say that it's not true. It has been denied. He says it's not true that he is, implicated or has been, or he even knew about this blue light scandal, right? He's basically distanced himself from Vusiket Badlala. And you wonder, then that when General Mkhwanazi comes back, what would his response be? So we are going to be seeing General Mkhwanazi come back. We're also going to be seeing others who have been corroborating what General Mkhwanazi has been saying also come back to testify, also come back to respond to any of the allegations around them. You may know that there have been allegations made, for example, Kgomotso Modise, who's the former spokesperson of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department. She's had allegations now made against her by an Imogen Mashazi, right, the former municipal manager, basically saying that she was in a romantic relationship with her senior. Now she has to come back and respond to those allegations. So we still have a lot, hey? We still isende lendlela esizoyihamba, right? Yinde, right? And I think we're all trying to see, as the commission takes its shape, what can we expect now going forward? So I am looking forward to the responses that will come. But also, when the commission returns next year, we know that we continue with part 2. And that part is when we're still going to hear more. I'm actually wondering if we're going to be hearing from Katiso KT Molefe at all, if they would want a Katiso KT Molefe to come and account. But we'll certainly have more on that as the new year begins. Tsepo says, as Kgomotso, I prefer field work. Like police officers and municipality workers, you can at any given time and also attend to your private matters. No supervision, you supervise yourself at the field. Love your topic, Stacey. Thank you so much, Tsepo. Tsepo, I understand, ne? I understand the being out and about, especially as a reporter myself. You are out and about. But you must be careful, hey, not to use company time to do your own things, because you will be caught, my brother. You will be caught and it won't be cute. But yes, I do understand the idea of being out and about. You are able to manage your time. Many people prefer to be out and about and to do field work, because, you're able to, you're quote unquote your own boss, right? You're in charge of your own time. You're able to do things as you want to do them and at the time that you see fit, as opposed to being in the office. And some people feel like when they're in the office, they're being watched like a hawk, right? But I do think you must be careful. Don't do your short lefts there and do your other things, with the work car or with, on work time. We are speaking about how you de-stress while you're at work, right? It's an article. It's from an article by The Citizen, and it says the Gen Z's stress toolkit. How do you de-stress? Some of them use a pacifier, apparently. I don't know if you've seen anyone use a pacifier. I've never seen a person use a pacifier before in the workplace. It would be very, very odd. But there are some ones that are interesting here that I've seen and heard before. People chilling in the loo, they call it. So sitting in the bathroom while they try and de-stress and almost pull themselves towards themselves. Right, let's take a voice note.
What I do to de-stress in the office, because I'm in an office, I'm in my own office. I'm not in an open plan or anything like it. But the pressure does really come down really hard on me when it comes. And what I do is I put on my earpods. I close the door. I put on my earpods and I play hip hop music to the absolute loudest. I will have Drake in my ears, so loud. And I don't know if it helps me sort of, because I know the lyrics to all the songs. When I am singing the song out, it feels like I am taking my frustrations and my stress out in the midst of rapping to every song and singing. And literally it only takes about 3 songs. After those 3 songs, I open the door and I am myself again. I don't know. It's like magic. Music heals anything. It's Lerato here from Springs. Thank you.
Yes, it is magic, Lerato. It's magic because, let me tell you, I agree. I can confirm what you're saying. I have experienced that too, where you just sit with the music and you just feel the stress leaving your body. I think you're lucky that you sit in an actual office in a cubicle. I think workspaces now are more, the communal workspace, and it's tougher then. There's people walking around and some people might want to catch your attention, but you're right. Music is the answer to it all. It fixes so much, even for me. And once you listen to that Drake song, then you're able to get back into it and you do feel a whole lot better. Actually, that's really, really good advice there from Lerato.
702
Let's walk the talk on 92.7
and 106 FM.
All right, we're going to be taking more of your voice notes right here on the Clement Manyathela Show. I do see some of them coming in. We're speaking about how do you de-stress in the workplace. And there's been interesting ones that I've seen and that I've read. Some people really speaking about how they want to sit on the tile, on a cold tile. I can also imagine the lying down on a cold tile may also help you a lot. That coffee break is always welcome. Coffee, maybe tea if you're a tea person. And walking around the building. I do that a lot. In fact, I think some of my colleagues now hearing this will realize that I walk around the building a lot. And that's really when I'm struggling or when I'm very, very stressed. I find that when you're sitting just staring at your screen, really it feels like, this is the end all be all. And if you're staring at a problem here and you're not finding the solution, it can be really, really heavy. So sitting down or walking around in the building, getting a bit of a coffee, hoping to bump into someone, have a bit of a chat, talking to someone. I do that a lot, and I enjoy it, and I think that it helps a lot. Amogelang Ramela is in the studio. Amu, how do you de-stress around the building and at work when you're struggling, Nje? What's your go-to thing to de-stress?
I go to people. There's Scooby. She makes me laugh all the time. Balisa makes me laugh. So I go to her desk if she's around and I just talk about random things and you'll literally laugh. And then I go to Sfiso's desk as well.
Yeah.
I go to a lot of people and talk. I like talking. And
we know.
The one thing is that then I'll be talking and they are really trying to focus and then it's going to be an issue because I'm trying to finish up here. But yeah, I just talk.
Yeah, I agree. I talk too. I think, coming around to people's desks helps a lot. But also there are those anchor people, in our workplaces where that when I go to this person, I'm going to get, that boost of energy.
Yes.
Yeah? Where when you see that person, if I go and I just speak to them.
And it matters not what you talk about.
Yeah. It's just banter.
Yeah.
Office banter. But it helps you get through the day. All right. That is the first hour of the Clement Manyathela Show done. Thank you so much for your calls and your voice notes. It is 10 o'clock.